How did ancient humans first make fire? Imagine living 1 million years ago. You have no electricity, no gas stove, no lighter, no matches, not even decent internet. Now imagine that you have to survive a cold night. It is dark everywhere. Something is rustling in the bushes. Some unknown animal is howling somewhere in the distance. And all you have is a rock, a stick, and a very bad mood. But one day, ancient humans learned to do something incredible. They learned how to create fire. Fire that could warm them, cook their food, scare away predators, and accidentally burn off their eyebrows. But how exactly did humans first make fire? To understand that, we need to go back to a time when lighters did not exist yet, and even matches were only a dream. In reality, humans probably did not start by simply taking 2 stones and immediately making a campfire. First, they saw fire in nature. Lightning struck trees. Forest fires began. Flames erupted from volcanoes. Dry grass could catch fire from intense heat. Ancient humans watched this strange phenomenon. On screen, a primitive human carefully approaches a burning tree. He reaches out his hand. The fire suddenly flares up. The human jumps backward. His hair gets slightly singed. He looks at his hair with complete confusion. To an ancient human, fire probably looked almost like a tiny, angry sun. It was bright, hot, dangerous, and completely unpredictable. But humans quickly noticed several useful things. Animals were afraid of fire. Fire provided warmth, and food cooked near fire became softer. And most importantly, you no longer had to chew it all day. The next great discovery was learning how to carry fire. Imagine a forest fire. Most of the flames slowly die out, but some branches are still burning. One ancient human notices such a branch. He carefully approaches it, picks it up, and immediately starts panicking because the branch is burning right in his hands. He drops it on the ground, then looks at it, then picks it up again, this time more carefully. And gradually, humans realized a burning branch could be used to transport fire. This was an incredibly important discovery. Now fire could be brought back to the camp, but a new problem appeared. Fire constantly wanted to go out. So ancient humans had to learn how to keep it alive. To keep a fire from going out, they had to constantly add fuel. Dry grass, leaves, branches, wood. On screen, an ancient human puts a small branch into the fire. The flames almost disappear. He adds another one. The fire gets brighter. He adds a whole pile of wood at once. Suddenly, the campfire turns into a huge blaze. The ancient human slowly steps backward, very slowly, because he realizes maybe that was too much wood. Gradually, humans learned to control fire. They discovered that dry wood burns better. Wet wood barely burns. Too much wood is bad. Too little wood is also bad. Perhaps ancient humans even had the most important job in the tribe, watching the fire. While others hunted, someone had to sit beside the fire. While others slept, someone had to watch the embers, because if the fire went out, starting it again was not easy at all. But one day, humans noticed something interesting. Some stones created sparks when struck hard. One of the most useful was flint. If you strike flint against another hard stone or piece of iron-rich material, a tiny hot spark can appear. But there was one important detail. A spark is not fire yet. It is only a tiny flash of heat. To turn it into fire, you need dry material. For example, dry grass, bark, leaves, fungus, or dry plant fibers. An ancient human gathers dry grass, places it on the ground, picks up 2 stones, strikes them together. Nothing. He tries again. Still nothing. He hits harder. Still nothing. He starts striking the stones quickly. And suddenly, a tiny spark appears. The ancient human freezes. The spark disappears. He starts striking the stones again. And then, one day, something happened that humans had been waiting for a very long time. A spark lands directly on dry grass. At first, nothing happens. Then a tiny red point appears. Smoke begins to rise from the grass. The ancient human slowly leans closer. His eyes grow wide. The red point becomes brighter. The smoke becomes thicker. And suddenly, a small flame appears. The ancient human jumps backward, then carefully comes back. He looks at the fire and realizes he made it himself. Of course, he had no idea what had happened scientifically, but he understood the most important thing. If you strike the right stones, fire can appear on dry material, and this completely changed human life. But stones were not the only way. Humans also noticed that if you rub two pieces of wood together for a long time, the wood gets hot. At first, an ancient human simply rubs one stick against another. Nothing happens. He continues. Time passes. He continues. His hands get tired. He continues. Smoke appears. The ancient human stops, looks at the smoke, then starts rubbing the wood again. The smoke gets stronger. Finally, a small, glowing ember appears. Now he has to act very carefully. The ember is placed in dry grass. The ancient human begins to blow gently. At first, nothing happens. He blows harder. More smoke appears. The ember turns red. And finally, fire appears. The ancient human slowly stands up. He looks at his hands, then at the fire, then back at his hands. And at that moment, he probably realized rubbing sticks can actually be useful sometimes. After humans learned to control fire, life itself changed. The first huge advantage was food. Before fire, humans could eat food raw, for example, raw meat. On screen, an ancient human tries to bite into a piece of raw meat. He chews for a long time, a very long time. His face gradually becomes more and more exhausted. Then he notices a piece of meat cooked over the fire. He carefully tries it, and his face instantly changes. Cooked food was softer. It was easier to eat. And many foods became much easier to consume. Now, instead of chewing one piece of meat for hours, you could simply cook it. It was a real revolution. Although, of course, the first person who accidentally dropped meat into a fire was probably very upset. Then he tried it, and everything changed. Fire gave humans warmth. This was especially important on cold nights. An ancient human sits beside the fire. At first, he is shivering from the cold. Then he moves closer, closer, even closer, and suddenly he is almost sitting inside the fire. He quickly moves back, but now he is warm. Fire also helped scare away some predators. Dangerous animals could be hiding in the darkness around the camp. But a bright fire made the camp much safer. Of course, fire did not always protect people from mosquitoes. The ancient human sits beside the fire. He looks happy. Then he notices a mosquito. The mosquito lands on his nose. The ancient human slowly looks at it, and 1 second later, he starts waving his arms wildly because even fire could not solve absolutely every problem in human history. But perhaps the most important effect of fire had nothing to do with warmth or food. Fire brought people together. Now, when darkness fell, people did not have to go to sleep immediately. They could sit around the fire, make tools, work with materials, cook food, and simply spend time together. Imagine an ancient group of people sitting around a fire. One person uses his hands to show an enormous animal. The others watch carefully. He makes the animal even bigger. Everyone is amazed. Then another person shows an even bigger animal, and gradually the first ancient story is born. Perhaps it was around the fire that humans began actively passing knowledge from one generation to another. Where to find water, which animals to avoid, which plants could be eaten, how to make a good tool. Fire became the center of human life. So who was the first person to invent fire? Most likely, no single person. There was no ancient genius who woke up one morning and decided, "Today, I will invent fire." The discovery happened gradually. First, humans saw natural fires. Then they learned to carry burning branches. Then they learned to keep fire alive. Then they began experimenting with stones. Later, they learned to use friction with wood. Every new discovery became part of a huge chain. One person found a new method. Another improved it. A third found an even better way. And someone else, of course, simply leaned too close to the fire and lost their eyebrows. Fire became one of the most important discoveries in human history. It gave humans warmth, light, cooked food, protection, the ability to work after dark, and a place where people could gather together. Today, we simply press a button on a lighter, and fire appears in 1 second. But for ancient humans, making fire was a true miracle. They needed stones, wood, dry grass, patience, and a huge number of attempts. And also, probably, a huge number of burned fingers. On screen, the ancient human tries to make fire again. A tiny spark appears. He celebrates. And then the fire suddenly becomes enormous. The human slowly steps backward. The fire keeps growing. The ancient human looks at it in horror. That is how humanity learned to control fire. And then learned how to accidentally burn dinner and order pizza.